Hey guys, Cornell Jermaine here. Listen, we are back with another episode here on the YouTube channel. Today, I want to answer some of your burning questions as it pertains to hair care. So listen, I had a challenge just last week, the Know and Grow Your Hair Challenge. If you missed it, you missed a real treat. We had a class of beautiful young women who were interested in learning not only about their hair, but in hair care in general. And so we had a nice 1 hour session. We had a lot of fun, had a game that we were able to give some winning prizes to. And the winner of that was Miss Irene. Irene won the prize. So congratulations again, Irene. At that time, we had an opportunity for our registrants to extend their questions as it pertains to hair care. So I wasn't able to get to everybody's question just because of the timing, and I didn't want to keep us in the session too long. We went over, it seemed to be just about an hour, but we went over, once I look back, it was about an hour and a half. So, and I only answered maybe about 5 questions during that period in between, of course, the training. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something special for my young ladies who took the time to spend the day with me learning about hair care and all those good things. I'm going to answer their questions here on the YouTube platform. So if you are a part of the Know and Grow Your Hair Challenge, stay tuned, because if you asked a question, we documented it, and now we're going to answer it. So here we go. First, we have Irene, who asked, and I believe Irene, I did answer Irene's question during the session, but I want to answer it again only because there are probably people on the platform, this public platform called YouTube, who probably have the same question. So if you weren't a part of the Know and Grow Your Hair Challenge, but you have hair care questions, you may just want to listen to the whole episode so that you can hear if something similar is answered on your behalf.
What? Huh?
Did I say that right? I didn't say that right. So you can hear that maybe there might be a question that is just like yours that I may answer, and which will help you in your hair care journey. Did that make sense? I think that made a little bit more sense. Anyway, so Irene asked, is it ideal to use a regular conditioner before a deep conditioning treatment? So I asked Irene, and we talked about this, but when it comes to when we talk about regular conditioners, we're talking about just your standard conditioners that they're not tied to a treatment or a hair care issue per se. When we talk about deep conditioning treatments, we're talking about highly concentrated, and if you were a part of the class, you understand this now. We're talking about highly concentrated products that are meant to aid in a specific hair care issue, typically that of dry, brittle, dehydrated hair, when we're talking about deep conditioning. When we get into other treatments, we're talking about other hair care issues, which may be weak hair, which may be hair that is splitting, et cetera, et cetera. There are definitely several treatments that you can get for your hair. But when we're talking about a deep conditioning, she's speaking of just a highly concentrated, hydrating, moisturizing conditioner. Now, when it comes to that, she's asking, do you have to do it regular before the deep? No, you don't have to do a regular before the deep conditioner because obviously it would be just a waste of product. All of the moisture hydration that you need would be in the deep conditioning product. However, depending upon the product itself, I would recommend going behind the deep conditioning with a regular or a standard conditioner. And that would be just your regular a moisturizing conditioner. Usually the deep conditioners are usually thicker in texture, highly concentrated. And you know how else you can tell if it's a deep conditioner? It's usually more expensive. Okay. So if you have a standard, if you're looking at a one beauty brand or one hair care brand, and they say conditioner treatment, the conditioner is probably going to be about $7 or $8 less than the treatment. And the treatment is what we would call a deep conditioner. You got it? So I want to say this, and I'm going to try to get through all of these questions. I have about probably roughly maybe 12 to 15 questions. I might not get through all of these tonight. So I may have to do a part 2 to this. Just want to let you know. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, and by all means, like the video. Just in case I have to do a part 2 to this, you cannot miss a beat. You cannot miss a beat. You won't miss a beat. My tongue is just all doing whatever it wants to do today. You cannot miss a beat. You can't miss a beat, and you won't miss a beat if you subscribe, okay? So, Irene, I appreciate your question. Let's go to Fatuma. Fatuma asks, okay. So these questions were submitted at the point of registration for the Know and Grow Your Hair Challenge. And she says, want to learn more about taking care of my hair because I am struggling. I understand the struggle is real, but I can't really answer that question because I don't know what your issue is specifically. So Fatuma, I thank you for reaching out, but we can circle back maybe when you have a more specific question. Elizabeth asks, how do I keep my dyed locks? When we're talking about locks, we're talking about dreadlocks. Sometimes they have sister locks as well, brother locks, but we're talking about hair that is dreaded, essentially. She said, how do I keep my dyed locks moisturized? Honestly, when it comes to dyed locks, now I do locks, I don't install locks, but I care for locks and style locks. I actually had a client just the other day who's a regular when it comes to locks. I didn't install her locks. I have nothing to do with the application of the style itself. However, I care for them. I color them as well as care for them. So we color her locks about every 6 to 8 weeks. And when it comes to dyed locks, your system is going to be very much similar to that of someone without locks. However, when it comes to moisturizing and keeping them hydrated, which is what you're asking, the treatments, the deep treatments that I just mentioned are going to be your friend. And the reason I say that is because when it comes to locks, you have hair that is woven into these little bitty strands or threads, I would call them. Sometimes they're thicker than others, but all that hair is woven together. So what tends to happen is you have to use a little bit more product than you probably would had your hair not been locked. So I tend to find that my heavier treatments usually work a little bit better on locked hair, especially dyed locked hair or colored locked hair. And that's because they're concentrated, so the product goes a long way. I would invest in a good moisturizing treatment. One that I recommend is by Joico. It's the Joico Moisturizing Treatment. We have it available at the My Product Professional website, so definitely check that out. We'll provide a link in the description here. But check that product out. Also, I wouldn't negate using other standard conditioning tools or products when it comes to the after. Sometimes we think only people who are going into press and curls or styling hair with flat irons, etc. Only they need the leave-in stuff, but that is not true. Locks need leave-in conditioning treatments, deep treatments, just like regular hair. So I would invest, to answer your question, I would invest in a good moisturizing treatment, which would be your deep conditioning. Again, Joico is a great one. And I would also make sure that I'm doing a leave-in treatment as well. A leave-in system, which would be a spray, cream, and oil, a leave-in system as well to keep those locks protected. Second thing, and you didn't really ask this, but I'm gonna extend this to you because I have experience in it and I know how it works. When it comes to dyeing or coloring your locks, you have to be very careful and know how your hair responds to color. Sometimes color can be a lot more damaging to locks than just even your standard hair. And the reason why is because locks can sometimes get a little bit more dehydrated than regular hair, typically because the individual is not putting enough product in it or no product at all, because many times people get locks and stuff and they think, oh, it's carefree, I don't have to do a lot, I can just oil my scalp and I'm good, less maintenance, etc., etc. And what tends to happen is those locks are a little bit drier than your normal hair would be had it not been locked. But then they go to color and they realize, oh, my hair is snapping. Oh, it's fraying. Oh, you get what I'm saying? And usually that's because the person has taken this carefree perspective when it comes to the locks, and they don't really tend to them like they would maybe if they had flat iron, straightened hair, etc. Don't negate and don't take for granted that your hair is just okay because it's in locks, especially if you're coloring, So your hair is probably a little drier than even it would normally be, So take that into consideration when it comes to doing color. I would refrain from any kind of bleach jobs when it comes to, I've seen it happen, and it is not a pretty sight when it comes to bleaching locks. Locks will fall out just like regular hair. So don't think because your hair is locked that it's stronger or more durable. It's not. Moisturize with a good treatment. Do your follow-up leave-in system and take care of your hair just as if you would if it were in a regular maybe style, if you will. I'm not sure what kind of style you wore before, but care for your hair, especially because it's colored, okay? So I hope that really helps you, Miss Elizabeth. Again, we have now Janine. Janine asked, well, Janine didn't even ask a question. Not Janine just said gray coverage. She didn't say, how do I get gray coverage? She just said gray coverage. I got you, Janine. So when it comes to gray coverage, it's not as complicated as it sounds. It depends on what you're wearing, as far as your hair. Now, I find that, and this is just a rule of thumb, not to say that you need to do this, but I find that relaxed gray hair absorbs or holds onto color a lot better than non-relaxed. However, it does not mean that you need a relaxer for your color to last. I'm just saying, by me not having much information about your particular issue, I'm just going over gray coverage things that have been useful for me through the years. So I will say, if you have relaxed hair that is gray, usually color will take better. And you could typically use a color like Clairol. They have a gray demi system that works. It's a one and done type product. You don't have to mix and do all that kind of stuff. And it takes very well to hair that has a softer cuticle layer and also hair that is gray and relaxed. If you're one who has no relaxer, you have natural hair and your hair is gray and you want good coverage, I would look into a demi line where you have to add developer, and usually that is a 20 volume. That tends to take a lot better than just your standard rinses. Now, there are a lot of people who recommend henna and all that kind of stuff. I'm not versed in that. I've seen it done and I have my own thoughts about it. But my thoughts are limited to the experience that I've had, which is very little. So I can't speak to that. But there are some people who believe in that henna is, whatever, all those kind of elements, which are great, can cover gray as well. However, I think from my experience, the color range is a lot more limited when it comes to that. Although it may be a natural product, the color range is definitely limited. But if you're trying to go dark, which is what most people are typically trying to do when they're coloring gray. They're trying to darken it to some shade, whether it's brown, black, or even if it's a reddish tone. If you're relaxed, a standard rinse / semi-permanent will work well. And if you're not relaxed, I would try maybe a demi line, a demi-permanent. But here's the catcher. I don't recommend you try it if you don't have experience. Go to a professional that knows hair. Allow them to get to know your hair so that they can make the proper recommendation, because color can be a disaster. It can go left really quick. And I don't care. And sometimes coloring gray seems so simple. It's like, oh, just put it on there. It's fine. It seems simple, but if you're experimenting, it is a chemical. And you have to realize that sometimes the experts know what they're talking about and they need to be the ones administering some of these services. So if you don't have an expert that is working alongside of you, this is my disclaimer. I'm not working with you because I don't even know your hair. These are just things that I'm saying have worked with me for me in the past with the hair types that I work with. So let me put that disclaimer out there. If you choose to try any of these elements or any of these techniques, you're trying at your own risk, okay? Because I'm limited to the information that I have. I'm just giving you a general synopsis when it comes to gray coverage with color, okay? I hope that helps you, Janine. There's two Janines, one with a J and one with a G. The second Janine, which is the one with the G, she asked, what is the best way to maintain a wash and go when it's bedtime? I got you, Janine. So Janine with the G, when it comes to bedtime hair, you want to make sure that you're using, for one, a silk or satin scarf or bonnet. When it comes to a wash and go, I'm assuming you have maybe a press and curl or a blowout or whatever. You either want to wrap that hair in a circle, which is old school, to keep the hair nice and smooth, or you want to be rolling or pin curling, one of the two. So depending on the style, typically if it's a more curlier style where you have a little bit more curl, you'll probably go for the pin curl or the rollers. Or if you have long hair, you may even go for a pineapple top knot, you know what I mean? Depending on the style and the look you have. So those variables do go into play. However, what is not negotiable, what is non-negotiable is the silk scarf or bonnet, or silk or satin scarf or bonnet. And I would say satin is my first preference. Silk would be the second. And you want to make sure that however you're tying your hair, whether it's with the wrapping it up in a circle, rollers, etc., satin scarf is going to be your friend. And I would invest in a satin pillowcase. Even if you have a scarf, I would also invest in a satin pillowcase. You can have cotton pillowcases on every pillow on your bed, but there should be at least that one pillow where you're laying your actual head on, that has a satin scarf or satin case on it. The reason is, even though you have your hair covered with the satin bonnet, sometimes it slides off. Some people don't sleep pretty, and sometimes you can rest assured that your hair is not being chewed and eaten up by this cotton pillowcase. Okay, so that's my bedtime recommendation for anybody with a wash and go. Janine with the G, I hope that helps you out. All righty, I don't know where my time is. Okay, we're good. All righty, so Tatiana asks, how do I maintain extremely dry hair? I oil it and keep water in it, and nothing works. Okay, here's the issue, Tatiana, when it comes to extremely dry hair and oil. Oil is not a moisturizer, okay? Oil is something that we use in a hydrating, moisturizing as a part of the system, but it has a specific role, okay? So if you're using oil on extremely dry hair and going out into the sun, depending on where you live, all you're doing is cooking that hair even more, which is why when you put that oil, and depending on what kind of oil you put in, it's already going to dry it out in, like that coconut oil, and I don't have time to get into it right now, but coconut oil is a type of oil that has come to the market, and people are really just going overboard with it. But the elements or the makeup of that oil actually over-proteinizes the hair, over-keratinizes the hair, which means it's going to make it feel dry, brittle, even snap. Okay, so and not saying that you're using coconut oil, but I'm just saying oil in general has a specific role in the system of hair care, and moisturizing is not it. So if you're using oil on extremely dry hair, 9 times out of 10, you're making the dryness worse. Find, just like I told the young lady with the locks, I think that was Miss Elizabeth, like I told her, you need to find you a deep, hydrating, moisturizing treatment. A deep treatment. What I would also say, and I don't know specifics about your hair, but if you're saying it's extremely dry, you probably have a very tight cuticle layer, which means the porosity of your hair is probably very low. So what you have to do is you need to watch my other video when it comes to, I think I mentioned it's about the products I use on 4C hair, dry, dehydrated 4C hair. Watch that video. Look at the products that I use. Buy those products at the My Professional Product Store, which is linked below, and use them, because you have to, if you have this dehydrated, dry, very coarse hair, 9 times out of 10, nine times, when I tell you my tongue, 9 times out of 10, your hair has a very tight cuticle layer and the porosity is extremely low. So what you have to focus on is not just moisturizing, but you have to focus on softening that cuticle layer, okay? So watch the video, watch the 4C hair care video, the one I did on dry dehydrated hair. It's gonna be linked in the description below, and there may be even a thumbnail just so you can know exactly which video it is, but it's on this YouTube channel. Watch it, use those products, use that system. Then on top of that, because in that video, I did not include the deep treatment, add the deep treatment, the Joy Code Moisture treatment that I've spoke about earlier is linked below. Add that to that system of products, and I guarantee you over a course of a few weeks, you'll see the difference in your hair, okay? Refrain from the oil. We'll in another time, we'll talk about the proper use of that, but refrain from that just for a little while. use those products and see if it works for you. And please come back and let me know. And if it does not work, come back and let me know. I don't want you to just let me know if it's amazing. You can say, if it doesn't work for you, come back, say, hey, Cornell, that doesn't really work. Or, hey, tell me, so that we can now say, okay, this is another system or another opportunity you may have using these products, okay? But I guarantee you'll see some kind of difference. I hope that helps you. Also, we have Bridget. Bridget, her question is how to grow long hair. Everybody wants to know how to grow long hair. How to grow long hair. Listen, hair grows at a certain rate, period. I don't care who you are, where you are, hair grows in stages. When it comes to growing long hair, it's really the question of retention. Not necessarily the rate of growth, although that is also a part of it, but the retention. And when it comes to retention, it means how much are you retaining as it grows? Because most times their hair grows perfectly fine, you know what I mean? But they don't retain it, which means retaining has to do with how it's cared for, so that it can stay healthy and stay with you as it continues to grow. That's all. That's the basics of hair. That's the basic of long hair. All it is somebody who has properly, and sometimes it's easier for some than others, because sometimes the drier, dehydrated textures, it's very prone to breakage because it's just that sensitive. And then there are some who, they can do just about anything to their hair and it just grows and grows and grows. And they don't have the issue with trying to retain it because the texture and the type is a little different. So to my curly, coily, dried, maybe a little dehydrated textures, you have to be a little bit more anal and a little bit more on top of things when it comes to retaining your hair. But I guarantee you, if you can retain what is already on top of your head, you won't have a problem with growth in general, because growth 9 times out of 10 is not your problem unless you have hair loss. And then if you have hair loss, that's a whole nother subject that we have to talk about. But most people that are asking about the hair growth, how to grow long hair, are people who just feel like their hair is stunted. It's at a certain place and it just won't get any longer. Are you retaining it? Are the ends being kept healthy? Is the hair shaft? Because you have to remember, one strand of hair within a hair shaft. So if your hair is shoulder length, from the ends to the root, that hair responds totally different to everything you do, because that ends are a lot older and it's a lot more worn. It's taking a lot more wear and tear typically than what's closer to the root. So now you have to take that into consideration. Okay, my ends are not as, not necessarily they're not as healthy, but they're not as durable. You get what I'm saying? Because first of all, it's been with me the longest. It's a little bit more worn. It has taken a little bit more of a beat up. So I need to care for my ends a lot better. So therefore, an end sealant is going to be your friend. And I have a whole recipe that I do for sealing the ends, and I may share it here on the YouTube channel. But there's a whole thing that can go along with that. But retaining your hair, meaning caring for the hair that's already on your head, will help you see growth or see the length a little bit faster. Now, there is an issue because some people's hair just does not grow. They do this, they do that. I've done that. I tried this. I've done all the products. I don't do this. I don't do heat. They've done it all, and it just seems like their hair does not grow past a certain length. Then those people are probably individuals who may need to take advantage of maybe a supplement of some kind that can help boost the growth and add just a little bit more nutrition to the blood that's going to the hair follicles. You get what I'm saying? But I'm not going to get into nutrition. I'm not going to get into supplements and things of that nature because this video is already long enough. But I just want to let you know, if you're one who's doing everything right and you just are still not seeing the growth, then I would now lean on nutrition, supplements, etc. And we'll leave it at that. Maybe we'll revisit that in the future. But I hope that helps you. All right, next we have Angela. Angela asks, what is a good product to use to keep your hair from drying out throughout the day? What is a good product to use to keep your hair from drying out throughout the day? A leave-in moisturizer, or a curl activator. Now, I'm assuming that this person Angela is wearing more of a curly texture or maybe a natural. So when it comes to naturals, what you have to realize with curly hair is just because you wet it and moisturize it and do all that kind of stuff, when you go out into them elements, if you don't have the right products or if you're not rehydrating that hair regularly, that environment will soak up, especially in the wintertime, soak up all that good moisture that you put in there. So you have to be consistent with that. So what my regimen typically is, because I have curly hair, if you can tell, I have curly hair and I'm not as the best with it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of common when it comes to people who are skilled in the matter. They tend to take things for granted only because they're so busy serving, everybody. But anyway, I know what to do when I have to do it. But what I do when I'm at my best with my own personal hair care regimen, my hair is being moisturized at least 2 to 3 times a week. And I'm not talking about having to shampoo and condition. I'm talking about just taking it down, doing a good comb through with a good leave-in or moisturizer or a rehydrator, whatever you call it. What I like to use is the 14-in-1 by Hawaiian Silky. And I do a good comb out, put the product in, which it softens it, comb it through good, rebraid it, and I'm done. Okay. What that does for me is it helps to keep my hair moisturized so that when I'm out throughout the day and whatever the case may be, it's not becoming brittle and dry and all that good stuff, But the product does absorb and the environment does pull, the moisture out over time. So after about a couple of days, I have to do it again. And then maybe after a week and a half, 2 weeks, now it's time to do your full regimen because that product begins to build up. So after about 2 weeks of doing that, now it's time to shampoo, condition, deep treatment, whatever I need to do, and then start the process all over again. So I think probably adding a good spray in, rehydrator, activator, etc. 14-in-1, which is at the My Product Professional store, linked down below. The 14-in-1 product is the one that I like. It's a cream-based spray, and they really, honestly, and this is just on a side note, they should have put that. I think it should have came like in a squeeze bottle. Maybe not a jar because it's not thick enough to be in a jar, but a squeeze bottle for sure. But it comes in a spray bottle, and the spray, it's annoying sometimes, but the product works very well. The reason I say it's annoying because the product it's not really loose enough to be in a spray, but it's not thick enough to be in a jar. You know what I mean? So sometimes that little spray thing can get on your nerves, but it works very well. So if you can get past that little annoyance, you'll be fine. But I think that's something that you can use on your hair every couple of days, and you should see a difference in how well your hair stays moisturized. All righty. Next we have, now, you know what, guys? I think this video is getting very long. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut it off here because I have about probably 8 to 10 more questions to go. So I'm going to cut it off here and call this part 1 of our Know and Grow Your Hair, your questions answered, your hair care questions answered. And to those who submitted questions, thank you, and joined us for the Know and Grow Your Hair Challenge. Thank you for joining us. If you're one who's just visiting this channel and seeing this video by happenstance, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out some of our resources, like the video, and share it with some of your hair care enthusiasts and hair care friends. So thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back, let's say maybe next week with part 2 for this. How about that? Is next week good? Let's try next week. All right, we'll see you soon. Cornell Jermaine here. Take care.